Your Wednesday word. Thank you for joining me today. So our word for today is bitterness. All week we've been talking about relationships. We've been talking about how to get along. And today I wanted to discuss with you the word bitterness. The word bitter means having a harsh taste, something being sharp, cutting. And the etymology of the word, the origin of the word in the Germanic means to split or to bite. So bitterness means having a harsh taste. It also means if you're talking about emotionally, it means having a festering anger or hurt towards someone. So we cannot let bitter feelings to fester and grow within us. We shouldn't advertise our conflicts with everything else. We should approach the person who hurt or offended you privately and make things right. Hebrews 12:15 says, "See to it that no one comes short of the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springing up cause trouble, and by it many be defiled." So don't let that root of bitterness spring up and defile many. Bitterness grows like a root in your life. Have you ever been in the woods or been walking in a park and observed the roots that come out from a tree? Have you noticed that sometimes the roots can break up concrete or can break up even rocks? The roots of some trees are very, very strong. And so bitterness is like that root of a tree. And we talked about even the Germanic etymology of the word bitterness means to split apart. It's like those roots that can split apart, even the strongest relationships. So bitterness splits relationships apart. The greatest enemy to joy and hope in your everyday life is a cultivation of resentment and then bitterness. And you can see the evolution of it in a conflict or situation. There's a hurt or anger that occurs, and that actually is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for two things: forgiveness and grace, or the hurt and resentment to grow. And the hurt and anger can evolve to resentment, and then resentment to bitterness. Bitterness emotionally chains you to the individual who hurt you through those festering thoughts and simmering emotions that run through your mind. You say, "April, how could that bind me to the person?" The person hurt you. And some of us had experienced extreme hurts in our lives, and we just want to get past it. But if we don't take care of that root of bitterness, that bitterness emotionally chains us to that person. And so the thoughts, that hurt, the anger, it's all there. You can't get away from it if the bitterness is simmering within you. Bitterness controls you. Bitterness is a poison that keeps the pain alive. Bitterness is a poison that can keep the pain alive. Nelson Mandela said, I love this quote. Nelson Mandela said, "As I walked out the door toward the gate that led to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in the prison." So we don't leave the bitterness behind, we are still in a prison. So you say, "April, how do I know if I have bitterness?" Well, here's several indications. You may feel anger when the person's name is mentioned. Just mention that person's name and you can feel an emotional stir. You can't behave normally if you're around the person. You're happy when that person fails. You're unhappy when the person succeeds. You hear something good about that person, you're like, you may replay the conversation or situation in your mind over and over. Do you frequently have negative thoughts about the person? Are there emotions simmering? You can tell if there's a root of bitterness when every time that person, you think of the situation or the person and you can feel a stir emotionally. There's a tie to that person. Your emotions are tied. So here's 3 bullet points today to root out bitterness. Bitterness destroys relationships. And you may say, "April, this relationship's already destroyed." Well, many times we don't approach forgiveness for the other person. It's not like we're doing that person a favor. You forgive for your heart. You forgive to set you free. Because if we don't forgive others, the Heavenly Father doesn't forgive us. When you forgive someone else, it sets you free out of that prison. And so 3 bullet points to root out bitterness in your life. Number 1, first we have to identify the resentment and the specific act that caused the hurt. Identify the resentment. Number 2, choose to forgive whoever hurt you. Choose to forgive. Just even if you have to say it out loud, "God, I forgive for what he or she did to me." And number 3, every time that negative or angry thought springs up, replace that thought. Now, we can't pretend thoughts didn't happen, but we can replace thoughts with appreciation for something good about the person. Or if you say, "With April, this is a horrible individual, you don't understand." Okay, when you have a negative thought about that person, pray for that person. I've had someone that did me really wrong, like 2 times, not 1 time, 2 times. I mean, this person just really, and a lot of times if you're in the ministry, you have a lot of situations where people just hurt you. And so I had not 1 time, 2 times. So I would have these thoughts. And every time I had this thought, I would say, Father, I pray for such and such. May your grace and mercy be upon this person. And you know that a lot of times it's the enemy that keeps bringing the thoughts back to your mind anyway. So if you start praying for that person, it's going to train your mind not to have these resentful thoughts. So if every time that negative thought comes, you can't think of anything good, just pray for that person. God, may your grace and mercy be upon so-and-so. So number 1, identify the resentment and the specific act that caused the hurt. Number 2, make a choice to forgive whoever hurt you. And number 3, every time an angry thought, a resentful thought, a negative thought springs up, if you're rehearsing what happened, the conversation, replace it with a positive thought about that person, or just pray for that person. And those are your 3 keys to root out bitterness in your life. Thank you for joining me today. Hey, like and share with 5 people you know that need to hear this message. We all have hurts, and those hurts are opportunities for forgiveness and grace, or opportunities to become bitter, and we don't want to become bitter. So like and share. Hey, I'm also on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also go to our website, which is wisdomforbeyond.com. Hey, there's some great resources there that can really help you grow and learn. Todd's books are on there. He has a new book that he just received in the mail yesterday, and I'm going to have him on to talk about his new book. It is fabulous. So go on that website and take a look at that. Also, hey, you can email me at wisdomforyourweek@gmail.com, wisdomforyourweek@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And join me tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm still talking about relationships. I'm going to help you get along. I'm going to help propel you toward healthy relationships. Join me tomorrow. I'm April Williams. This was Wisdom for Your Week. This was your Wednesday Word. Hey, stay inspired.